Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your morning briefing for Tuesday, the 18th of November, 2025. This is Robert standing in for Mike today. Let's get started with the domestic income. So some progressive groups have already started openly campaigning for a replacement for Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, a New York Democrat, specifically as the Democratic leader in the Senate. And this includes a group called the Progressive Change Campaign Committee. And they are putting forward a couple of candidates, including Senator Van Hollen, as potential replacements, because Schumer is not up for re-election until 2028, and there is right now only a push to get him out of leadership. There's also a Democratic Socialists of America member, Chi Osei, who is a political ally of current New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, filed to run in the 2026 primary election against House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. And this, to me, looks like some of these Democratic, Socialist, and progressive parts of the Democratic Party see an opportunity to start pushing out leadership and getting some candidates that are more amenable to their political priorities into power. Yesterday, Senator Mark Warner, a Virginia Democrat, warned in an interview that rapid advances in artificial intelligence threaten to drive up unemployment for recent college grads by 25% over the next 2 to 3 years. He said that this AI-driven unemployment could be one of the most important issues of 2028. Looking at some Bureau of Labor statistics, the 20 to 24-year-old college graduate unemployment rate was 9.3% in August of this year. I am skeptical of AI a little bit, but if this is not a bubble, then I think there is a potential to see more unemployed or underemployed white collar workers with a lot of time on their hands to get into radical politics. And I think there are some historical analogs to this. One of them being pre-revolutionary Russian politics, where there were quite a few white collar, what would be the equivalent of today's white collar managerial class employees involved in radical politics. Also, during an interview over the weekend, acting ICE Director Todd Lyons said that the Department of Homeland Security will begin investigating U.S. companies that employ illegal aliens. Moving over to the domestic side, an independent journalist on the ground in Portland said that the Proud Boys group and its supporters took over the driveway in front of the Portland, Oregon ICE facility on Sunday. It took it over from anti-ICE protesters, including local Antifa groups. And this is the first counter-protest I've seen that the Proud Boys group has attended since leader Enrique Tarrio was pardoned and released from prison on the 21st of January. Though Enrique Tarrio did attend the 18 October No Kings protest in Miami, Florida. As I think Mike as we've talked about before, there's, Oath Keepers seem to be making a comeback or starting a comeback. And I think there's two factors to the potential reemergence of some of these Trump administration groups. One is that I think there is a sentiment among some of the more politically activated right-wing people in the United States that the mainstream GOP is not exactly there are members of the mainstream GOP that are acting to undermine the Trump administration, and there is some demand, I think, for a reemergence of these groups. And two, I think that with the second Trump administration, that there's also the perception that there is some political cover for these more right-wing counter protesters and groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers to start operating again. And then finally, Broadview, Illinois Mayor Katrina Thompson declared a civil emergency after multiple threats against local officials. They said they received a bomb threat in September and a death threat was made against Thompson in October. But apparently what set off this emergency declaration was that over the weekend, a group that the Broadview Police Department described as out-of-town protesters attempted to storm the town hall, and they, quote, explicitly threatened to shut down government meetings. I think this out-of-town protesters description points to anti-ICE protesters at the Broadview, Illinois facility, and they are attempting to disrupt the local government, I think, to put pressure on ICE, because they are one of the cities that has been talking about using zoning laws to disrupt some ICE operations at that detention facility. I think this is also likely retaliation for some of the Broadview Police and the Chicago State Police and the Cook County Sheriff's Office assisting ICE by keeping order outside of this detention facility. Jared, if you could come on and take us through the global sit rep, please.
Absolutely. We're going to start off in Poland. They're convening the National Security Committee there today, and this is in response to several explosions on rail lines that supply Ukraine over the weekend. Now, the Polish Prime Minister called that act an act of sabotage, and a spokesman for the Security Services Minister claims that this was actually carried out by Russian secret services. After today, we'll find out what the response will actually be. Over much closer to home, the U.S. Marine Corps and Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force have kicked off their second set of exercises. That was over the weekend. They're going to last until Friday. Last time there was a caustic reaction from Venezuela. And still down in Latin America, the State Department revoked the visas of numerous personnel who knowingly facilitated illegal immigration to the United States from Nicaragua. Now, the State Department is also accusing the Nicaraguan government of facilitating illegal immigration. Good?
Yeah, so a little bit of background. Nicaragua is ran by the Ortega brothers, or formerly known as the Sandinistas, that overthrew the Nicaraguan government in the 80s. Did you see if were there any names provided for some of these government officials whose visas are going to be revoked?
No, I tried to cross-reference a few different departments there as well, and there were no names or total numbers given. It seems pretty blanket on what the State Department's going to do. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that,
it was
Jared.
scant on details.
Thank you, Jared.
And then lastly, Japan announced the successful integration of a hypersonic weapon onto its ships and aircraft. As such, the weapon is slated to enter service in the beginning of next year, 2026.
All right. Thank you, Jared. We're going to move on. We are tracking 63 protests today, as Mike has said before. If you see one of these dots near you, it's a good idea to go out and gather some intelligence for your own area study and look to see what local political parties or political organizations are turning out for these protests. Next, we're going to move on to the high side, where we're going to cover the Illinois ICE Accountability Commission, which is now underway, and do a deeper dive into the current immigration enforcement operations and federal surge in Charlotte, North Carolina. And if you'd like to join us, there's still time to go to forwardobserver.com/trial, where you can get a 7-day free trial and join us on the high side, where you get access to some of our deeper analytical items and our questions and answer session during the show. All right, Jared, could you take it to the high side, please?